This story begins with an early Super 8 footage, which focuses on Avery Weems coming out of a door wearing a mask, then shows various moments he spends with his parents. One afternoon, his father records some of their games and then walks away. And before he can resume, his mother Jane asks him to go into the kitchen to help her, but her voice comes from a shelf in the corner, and when he opens it, he finds a secret door that leads him to the basement, where his mother is. Jane tells him that she is very hungry and asks for a snack, to which the boy takes some fruit, and when he hands it over, the woman asks if his friend can also have a snack. The boy's father warns him not to go into the shelves, and this distracts him long enough for the madwoman to attack him. Hearing the screams, the man runs to see what is happening and finds the remains of the little boy, while the cries coming from below make him look. Harold Weems is visited by the documentary filmmaker Apollo. The man offers him water and food after his long walk from the train station to his house, but Apollo only takes a glass of water and says that it is best to start working as soon as possible. Harold asks him if he knows what happened in that house, to which Apollo replies that he doesn't know much and that he's just there to do his job. Apollo prepares all his equipment, and as Harold begins, he introduces himself as the man who was in the scandal years ago. Due to what happened to his wife and son, they now see him as a murderer, and after several years of harassment, he decided to tell the truth because he already knows who hurt his son and his wife. Harold takes Apollo to the basement to show him the place where his family died, telling him that his wife appeared with bites on her arm and leg that were not compatible with those of a person, and at that moment some interference appears on the camera. Apollo tries to get him to talk about his son, but when he sees that the man reacts badly, he goes to turn on the camera as an excuse, to which Harold thanks him for his help in revealing the truth. Apollo mentions that he will help on the condition that he lets him censor his name in the video, since he is sure that it will be about something paranormal, and he wants to remain a serious documentary filmmaker. Upon hearing this, Harold asks him to go outside to show him something very special, which turns out to be photographs of birds, and after apologizing for being so strange, he shows him that children get together to do tests of courage, because they believe that a blind witch lives there, and while he asks him to remember that for later, his wife Dolores runs to get the children out of their garden. Apollo tries to change the subject, but Harold tells him that he wants to record too many takes, and that it would be best if he stayed that night to continue in the morning, which Apollo does not want to do because he does not feel completely comfortable, although he changes his mind when he hears that they will pay him triple. Apollo does not beat around the bush and goes back to filming some takes in the basement. Just when Harold turns off the light and he adjusts the balance of the camera, he catches sight of a floating being. Harold calls Apollo to show him a film that he hid even from the police, which turns out to be of his wife's body, while he sings in verse that the blind witch catches people unawares to eat them, while complaining about the children and their cruel rhymes, because of everything he does to protect the city, although he interrupts his speech to show him how they gouged out his wife's eyes, while Apollo begins to feel dizzy from the sedative that was put in the water. Apollo wakes up tied up in the basement, while Harold borrows his camera and whispers to Dolores that he already knows what he must do, explaining to her that he had 1,000 ways to catch him anyway, because the witch chose him to bring her victims, leaving this message for his successor, who must be in charge of giving him victims. Since the witch has taken innocent lives for 30 years, it hurt him to let his wife and children die. Now that he lets himself be possessed by the witch, he can make sure that his sacrifices suffer as little as possible. Apollo takes a screwdriver while Harold meditates to let himself be possessed, and at the moment when the witch is going to eat him, Apollo stabs him in the neck with the screwdriver, and when he was singing victory and trying to break free, the witch begins to manifest and rips his head off, while Dolores throws away the food with drugs. Naomi arrives to visit Mrs. Weems to replace Charlotte, her former caregiver. The woman enters and upon hearing the old woman's moans goes to her room, without noticing that the basement door begins to open. Upon reaching the room, Dolores screams to turn on the light, so Naomi lights a candle while giving her condolences for Charlotte. And in response, the old woman begins to laugh. Naomi does not give it importance and goes to the kitchen to give her some canned cream for dinner, accommodating the woman to eat. And as she does not react, she puts her on her shoulder to measure her lung capacity. Seeing that she has nothing, the woman prepares her for bed. At the same time, she accidentally knocks the spoon under the bed, finding an old tape recorder. Coming back into the kitchen, the young woman finds the basement door open. But upon hearing that something was moving underneath, she closes it and checks on Dolores. who laments that it's going to happen again, confessing that she agreed to help Harold without knowing what she was getting into. While lamenting her previous caregivers, her voice begins to change, ordering her to stop complaining and to stop eating Beezel at once. Naomi leaves the room and cleans the recorder, which turns out to be Charlotte's, who tells that she has been taking care of Dolores for 90 days, because the doctors told her that she would never walk or talk again due to a stroke. But soon she begins to talk in her dreams about Linda, someone who was there before her, promising to record her when she passed again, and she did. Since the next recording was of the woman lamenting about having to kill women so often, while a mysterious voice orders her to kill Charlotte. Naomi calms down and goes to give her patient some water, asking her if she knows that she talks in her sleep. At the same time, she leaves the recorder to see if she can get some information. But when she falls asleep, upon awakening from her nightmare, she takes her recorder. At the same time, Dolores begins to wake up. Upon checking the recording, she hears Beezel asking her to eat Naomi while she sleeps. Then she greets her victim. At the same time, the lights on the porch turn off and on. The woman tries to see who is doing it, and upon seeing that someone is watching from the door, in front of the house, the lights go out, and the second time Dolores appears in front of her. Naomi runs outside to see what is happening, but after a few seconds, she returns to the house. She hears the old woman's cries asking for help from the basement and returns to save her patient, discovering Charlotte's credential on one of the walls next to Linda's. When the girl finally understands that she is in danger, the witch already begins to stalk her. When she tries to hide in the foundations of the house, she discovers several things from the previous caretakers, along with Charlotte, who somehow seems to be alive. Naomi crawls to try to save her partner, just when Beezel was already eating her leg, and from behind, Dolores was already locking her up for being a busybody. This girl called Nova discovers the secret door where her mother-in-law locked up, tortured, and killed 3 nurses, saying that thanks to that they cannot sell the house, since its bad reputation makes only some homeless people become wreckers. The girl and her husband Lucas move to restore the house while they manage to sell it. Since there is no internet, they call a restaurant to bring them food. The girl leaves because the guy is already getting angry from hunger, and when she was filming the surroundings of the room, she managed to capture the witch. Lucas comes to make peace and tells her that his mother went crazy when she heard that the witch lived in the basement. When the delivery man arrives, he leaves the food and runs away as fast as he can, making it clear that no one wants to go near that house. While they were having dinner, Lucas asks her why she is not afraid to live there after everything she knows. Since Nova does not take it seriously, she throws a tantrum in the room. The next day, when she was taking a shower, Nova sees someone stalking her husband while he is arguing on the phone. At first, she doesn't give it any importance, but when she sees a bird crashing against the window, she gets scared. After a while, the girl starts to dry herself when she hears cries from the bathroom cabinet, and when she opens the section that leads to the basement, she starts to hear more noises. Out of nowhere, her husband starts to talk about the bird thing until a piece of strange music starts to be heard. So, she better start preparing the house. Since Nova is living it up, she puts on one of Dolores's dresses and proposes to live there. To Lucas, while the house goes up in value, take advantage of the time and start a family. But Lucas tells her that they are not going to live there because he doesn't even want to have children. The couple has trouble sleeping when noises begin to be heard under the bed, so Nova takes her camera to see what is hiding underneath, revealing a silhouette crawling on the floor, and to confirm that she has not gone crazy. She peeks, seeing some feet on the other side of the bed. While there was no one above and when the feet disappeared, we see that possessed Lucas is enjoying Nova's silhouette. The next morning, Lucas disappeared. So the girl takes the camera to see if what she saw before was real, and after clearing up her doubts, she begins to search for her husband, going through the basement until she finds Apollo's camera next to a box that she takes to check later. Hearing a noise from the secret door, Nova opens the door, discovering a baby, taking it in her arms to be able to roll it over. Lucas arrives home and discovers that the woman is hugging a dead animal, and obviously throws it in the trash while the girl cries to see what is happening. Lucas asks his real estate agent to lower the price of the house to get out of there, but seeing that his wife goes to the kitchen, he discovers several knives lying around. And while picking it up, Nova appears. After comforting her, he decides to review the recordings. In the tapes, we see how Nova was already beginning to plan to keep the house. And after other strange things, he sees how both of them had sex while they were possessed by the witch. Lucas asks for an explanation, to which his wife tells him that Beezel will be very happy. With Nova losing her mind, Lucas goes down to the basement to see the previous recordings, which makes him decide that they will leave there. Just when his agent tells him that they already have an offer. But Nova tells him that she wants to stay and goes to the bathroom to vomit. At dinner time, Lucas asks Nova to tell him what's going on, tells her that they're going to put aside the madness of living in the house to go to Paris. She wants to celebrate, so she goes under the table, snatching his little friend away. Although that was only a nightmare. But when he wakes up, we see the camera pointing at him and his wife stabbing him. After finishing her movie, Nova goes out to the garden and leaves her camera to lament having killed her husband. However, after a while, it passes and shows that she became pregnant. A few months later, the witch begins to enjoy her food. As time goes by, we see a new family arrive at the house, and we already know what's going to happen. And that's how the movie ends. The truth is that the film started very interesting, with that dark, gloomy atmosphere, and especially with the fan footage format when they use Apollo's camera. It would undoubtedly have improved a lot if it had been in that type of format. Since the film goes into decline after this segment, in short, it's just another popcorn film. Recommend me movies or series that you would like me to watch. Thank you very much for watching the full video. I'm leaving you some in case you want to take a look, or subscribe to wait for the next one. See you soon.